Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to this edition of the Family Series from the Uganda Registration Services Bureau. The series is a part of our public education initiatives to disseminate relevant information to the public. We started with the innovation series that focused on intellectual property. We've now moved to the family series that focus on the civil directorate. We started with the Director Civil Registration, Mr. Vincent Katusi, who took us through the types of marriages in Uganda. Last week, we had Mr. Rutunda, who took us through the benefits of registering your traditional marriage. So today, we are glad to be hosting Mr. Charles Nsimbi, who's the Manager of Civil Registration, who will be taking us through civil registration under the topic Demystifying Civil Marriages. My name is Dennis Navinde, and I'll be your host for today. Just a few ground rules before we start. Please ensure that your microphones are muted at all times. Ensure to use your real names so that when you have a question, we can actually refer to your actual name as opposed to the name of your phone or a pseudonym that you might use. And also use the chat function. If you have any questions, you can always post them in the chat. We'll pick them up and share with the speaker who will be able to ably answer. A quick reminder as well, the session is available on YouTube, so anybody else can also follow the proceedings on YouTube. Without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Charles Nsimbi, Manager Civil Registration, to take us through the topic, Demystifying Civil Marriages. A warm welcome again.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Dennis.
Again, over to
members who are with us, you are most welcome to have joined us on this episode number 3 of season 1 of the family series. And we hope that this will continue. You'll be with us until we reach episode 12 of this season, and then we move into the other season. Thank you, Dennis, for having had season 1, which was about intellectual property, and now season 2 of the same series being about family. Thank you very much. In this episode, intend to recap a little bit, as they always say. Previously on this episode, we had, Dennis has told us, we had the director discussing types of marriages in what? In Uganda, which are legal, and those were civil marriages, which are monogamous in nature and celebrated at the Office of the Registrar General. And with the cows in the districts, he also told us about Muslim marriages Muslim marriages, and he also told us about church marriages, customary marriages, and Hindu marriages. So that was episode 1 of this series of this particular season. And the episode 2, we discussed in detail the customary marriages, what you call okwandula, okuhingira, etc., etc. So previously on this series, family series, you've heard that, and now we just launch into episode 3, which is about civil marriages and attendant issues. Just to recap a little bit again, we have URSB, which is hosting you today, and what do we do as URSB in the field of marriages? We solemnize marriages in Kampala for the civil marriages, which is what is the main focus of this particular episode today. But we also maintain all registers of marriages: civil, church, Hindu, Muslim, customary. If it is a marriage, it has to be registered with us. If it is a marriage at all and it's going to be legally recognized, it has to be registered with us. We are the UNEB of marriages in Uganda, and if your marriage is not here, it's the equivalent of your O-level or A-level results not being with UNEB. We also license churches, which is one way of allowing churches to celebrate on behalf of God. You remember that thing of give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give to God what belongs to God, where churches celebrate marriages on behalf of God, but at the same time, we license them so that they can celebrate on behalf of Caesar. Obviously, because of the work we do, we also charge fees. And what you need to look at these days is that one of the most popular services we are giving at the moment is the issuance of marital status letters. With the world becoming a global village, we have found that a lot of Ugandans are moving out, getting married outside Uganda, but also for work purposes, and they are required to state whether they are married or not. That letter is issued by the civil authority of your home country, in which case, for Ugandans, it is URSP. So once again, welcome to episode 3. That was previously on episode 1 and 2, and now we can launch into episode 3. Episode 3 is about civil marriages, which are better known as court marriages or known as Embagaya DC. For us who are slightly younger, we will find that our parents, when they first went to Europe to study in the immediate pre-independence and post-independence period, they came back and celebrated a lot of civil marriages because they had been exposed to them when they were studying in UK and all these other places. And so that's how it came to be known as Embagaya DC. Currently, if you look at the duty bearers, the Registrar General is the Register of Marriages for Kampala, and therefore the custodian of all marriage records in Uganda, but also not only does the Registrar General maintain the National Marriage Registry, but also celebrates civil marriages, or Embagaya DC, for the Kampala area. All chief administrative officers are registrars of marriages in their respective districts, and they do celebrate marriages, civil marriages in their places. So that's why it was called Embagaya DC. Maybe today it will be called Embagaya Cow. So if you are with us here and you are preparing to get married and you want to celebrate this marriage, to ceremonize this kind of marriage, it depends on which district you are, and all you need to do is to go and see the chief administrative officer. They will be more than glad to assist you. As a recap a bit, we were told by Ronald in episode 2 that chief sub-county chiefs and town clerks are the ones who register customary marriages, while religious leaders, the priests in licensed places of worship, and imams are the ones who celebrate marriages of religious nature. This brings us to the people who should be interested in what we are talking, and the people who we work with. We work with the local government because we have talked about cows, sub-county chiefs, and town clerks. We work with cultural institutions because they have a lot of say in customary marriages. And we work with all religious organizations, government MDAs, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Internal Affairs, NIRA, UBOS, Minister of Local Government, and Minister of Local Government, Minister of Labor, Gender and Social Development, and foreign embassies. These are the people who uptake or use our documentation, which we derive when we celebrate marriages and we keep the National Marriage Register here. Briefly, the structure for marriages here, you can look at it and see. We have churches, we have town clerks, we have chief administrative officers who have said are the ones DC, so to speak, who celebrate the marriages and hold the registers for their respective districts. And then, of course, all that feeds into Uganda Registration Services Bureau, where the Registrar General holds the National Register. Hence, the word that the Registrar General is the UNEB of marriages in Uganda. All this is done under the auspices of Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, who oversees us and represents us in the Parliament. Okay, we can now bite into, after all those preambles, we can really now delve into the subject, civil marriages. Celebration of civil marriages is governed by the Marriage Act, Cap 251. For the lawyers on here, I'm sure you enjoy that. And the Registrar General is the gazetted Registrar of Marriages for Kampala, whereas Chief Administrative Officers are the ones gazetted for marriages in their respective districts. Okay, so civil marriages, we saw before, there are different types of marriages. There are church marriages, Hindu, Muslim, customary, and civil marriages. Civil marriages fall and are presided over by the Registrar of Marriages if you reside in the geographical area of Kampala. If you reside in any other district, the jurisdiction falls under the Chief Administrative Officer. But remember that the Chief Administrative Officer will ultimately forward those returns to the Registrar General, who also holds the National Marriage Registry. Now, who is eligible to contract a civil marriage? Civil marriages are simple. They're the simplest kind of marriage you can contract without much ado, and yet perhaps I could say, as a non-lawyer, that they are perhaps the most legally recognized marriages across the world. So all it requires of you is to be a person who is single. In other words, you do not have a subsisting marriage, who is 18 years and above. In other words, you are of majority age, and a few other things, and you're good to go. You can contract a civil marriage. So all of you guys outside there who are worried about soliciting for wedding meetings and also paying in church for the choir, or going to give goats in a Kavera Maido for the dowry, if you're not yet ready for that, at least you can put a ring on it by having a civil marriage. How? What qualifies? Who qualifies? I said applicants must be 18 years and above. They must have made the decision by their own free will. In other words, you're not coerced whatsoever. You are in love. That's what I would say. You are in love, and out of your free will, you say, you know what? I want this love thing to be legal. That's what you say. That's not what you say on Twitter these days. Yeah, make it legal. Sir, you want to make it legal, it must be out of your free will. You must not have a subsisting marriage. In other words, you must not be married to any other person at that particular time. So what does that really mean? It means you are single, you've never gotten married before, or you are divorced and you have your decree absolute, or you are widowed. All those people are eligible to get married, and they qualify to get married, civil marriage. You must not, this is interesting, you must not be related by blood or by operation of law, e.g. through marriage, adoption, etc., to the person you want to wed. This has been interesting, and I think there is a court case to this effect, and therefore there is case law to this effect, whereby someone who was related by clan was attempting to get married, and they went to court. The parents, of course, declined. I think these people were Baganda, and they take their clans very seriously. And the court did rule indeed that they were related by blood if they come from the same clan. So when we are talking to cultural institutions who are usually very wary of civil marriages, we assure them that civil marriages do respect cultural norms in the respect of blood. You should not be related by blood, and therefore, just because you are 18 and not married, you cannot marry your relative, even if the relative is through marriage by law, so to speak. Then you must have resided in the district for at least 15 days or more. Okay, so what you need to note here is that this marriage is monogamous and can only be dissolved through divorce by a court of law, or if one of the parties dies. So many people say the court marriage is a contract marriage. It is not exactly a contract marriage, because by contract marriage, they mean that you get married for a period of time, and then you can stop. Say, I will be married for 6 months, or will be married for 2 years, or will be no. A civil marriage is monogamous and cannot
I think Mr. Nsimbi is a bit frozen. If you can just give us 1 minute or two so we can fix the network again, and he'll be back online. Apologies. Yes, Mr. Nsimbi Charles is back. Charles, if you can hear us, please continue. You had stopped on slide 7, if I remember correctly.
Hello, Dennis? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, is this where I went off?
Yes,
Or
you
the
were
previous one?
on previous one. Who qualifies?
On who qualifies, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, we apologize for that. Probably internet issues, which are typical of Uganda. I didn't know, Dennis, you were using Leica mobile, but we'll take it from there. Leica is also very good. So, yeah, we were discussing on who qualifies to be an applicant. We had just discussed what it requires you, what is a civil marriage, and we were discussing who qualifies. And we said that you must be 18 years and above. You must have made the decision out of your own free will. You are in love and you want to make it legal because that's what makes sense, and you want to make it permanent, put a ring on it and make it legal, as you say. Yes. And so you must not be married to another person. And what is interesting is you must not be related by blood or operation of law or adoption by NHS. You must not be related by blood. What does that mean? In some jurisdictions like tribes, if you are in the same clan, you cannot get married. And so the law recognizes that. And I think there is case law to this effect as well, where people of the same clan attempted to get married and court did rule that they can't, they are related by blood. So yes, we do respect cultural norms in this particular whatever marriage. And that's therefore, if you are related by blood, by clan, by something like that, you will not be able to get married under this. Then you must, one of you at least must have been a resident of the district for at least 15 days. So unlike some jurisdictions like Las Vegas, where you can fly in and wed and fly out, in Uganda, we require you to at least have spent 2 weeks. Why? Because we need to know who you are and what you are doing and why you are getting married. And it's unlikely that you will fall in love so much that in less than 15 days, you are already married. So we let you take your time, a little bit of time to really consider this because of the next PS, which you see, marriage is monogamous and can only be dissolved through divorce by a court of law or if one party dies. So this is for keeps. As most people think it is what they call it, a contract marriage. You know, it's not a contract marriage per se. It is for keeps. You either till death do us part or till court do us apart. It's not something that you're just going to do for convenience or for property or for something and you will get out of it. Indeed, if you're not careful, you think you're going to use the court process, it's probably harder for you to get out of it than anything else. So yeah, I would advise that you take this on advice and make sure that it is something that you have actually decided. That's why number one was first of all, number one was 18 years. You must be able to make a majority decision, and rather a decision of majority age. And then you must have made the decision by your own free will. So it's not a joke. It is a serious matter. And actually, most of the other marriages are based on this particular aspect. So after we have seen what it is, we need to look at how you actually can contract the marriage. And an intending couple will appear in person before a register of marriages in their district and have an interview. What are we looking at? Excuse me, pardon me. What are we looking at? We are going to look for proof of citizenship. You must have a citizenship before you can get married. We are not saying citizenship of Uganda, but you must have a citizen. In other words, excuse me, you must be a Ugandan or a foreign national and your passport is valid and your stay in Uganda is valid. Then we will ask for an LC letter to prove that you have been resident in the district for 15 days because that's what gives us jurisdiction to wed you. Then we will ask for passport size photographs and then registered marriage affidavits. These ones are you swearing, telling us as those facts which were that you are over 18 and that you're not married anywhere and you're not related. And yes, indeed, it's out of your own free will. This is the equivalent of the vows you have in the church when you say, I take thee, Charles in Simbi, to be mine, to love and to hold, and to forsake all others, etc., etc. So we swear these ones up and they are commissioned and registered documents. So they are court-going documents. If you're a foreigner, a foreign national, we shall require you to have brought us a single status or marital status or no impediment, certificate of no impediment from your country. So you cannot run away from your country where you are married and you come and think you'll wed in this country. You're going to have to prove from the URSB of your country that you are not, they don't have you on the national register there. Then you will be able to wed. And then all you need to do is to fill a notice form, a marriage notice form, and attach the requisite pictures and place notice at the registrar for the 21 days. Now, as I say all these documents, all this information is available on our website, including samples of these documents, samples of affidavits, the notice, marriage notice board, notice form is there, even the sample of the citizen, the ID and everything that require is actually on our website. So most details of this can be found on www.ursb.go.ug. And if you go there, you'll find under services, you'll find how to contract a civil marriage, and everything I'm saying here in a lot more detail will be there on the screen. So this is the era of .com. We don't want you to run around offices collecting documents and affidavits and stuff like that and notice forms and probably picking up COVID or something along the way. Just go on the website and you'll find these instructions together with samples of the documents I'm talking about. Continuing with how to contract a civil marriage, the notice which you will have placed here, this notice which I said fill a marriage notice form with these attachments, is going to be published on the registrar's notice board for 21 calendar days. Please note it is calendar days. It's going to be put there for 21 calendar days. This is the equivalent of bands in a church, the equivalent of, the Muslims do not have any bands actually, but for Christians, they are the bands in church, and for us, it is the notice. The notice is put outside the door of the notice board, and here in Kampala, it's outside level 4 on Georgian House, and also on the ground floor. Because like I said, we're in the .com era, you'll find that this same notice, at least the names, are published on our website as marriage notices. Again, if you go on our website, you will find it, and you'll find that their notices are running. So if you want to run through and find if people who is getting married because it's public information, please go to our website. Under e-services, you'll find the notice, marriage notices. And when you click on that, you'll find them in chronological order. So yes, a notice will be published for 21 days. The purpose is in the event that there is anybody who has a caveat or any reason why the marriage should not take place, they should be able to place the caveat with the registrar of marriages. Now, once no objection has been received, then the marriage can be solemnized after those 21 days, but not beyond 90 days. So you have between the day 22 and the day 90 to get married, and the date is your choice. And it can be even Saturday, it can be Sunday. It's okay. You just have to book in the diary, and just like when you go to church, you may find that that day is fully booked and you are unable to get it. But so that's why we advise you to do it early enough. You have day 22 to day 90 to wed, and you should be able to pick whichever date you want. We know that marriage is sentimental, marriage is emotional, and therefore people have specific days they want, and they want them for a reason. And because of that, we go out of our way to ensure that we accommodate you. That's why I said we can wed you on Saturday, we can wed you on Sunday because of that. Except the hours in which the marriage is celebrated can only be between 10 o'clock and 4 p.m. That's what the law says. All that is required of you is you, the couple, and the 2 witnesses. So basically, we need an entourage of 4 people and perhaps a photographer. Now, pre-COVID, and hopefully, as the president said, after January, we used to allow a lot bigger entourage, like parents would want to be there, your friends would want to be there. But because of COVID restrictions, we have had to be pragmatic, and in order to ensure that people who come here get married and go away with rings and marriages, not with COVID. So we have made sure that we reduce the number to the bare minimum, what is 4 people, that's the couple, the 2 witnesses, and perhaps a photographer. Fortunately, these days, the cameras are also the video cameras. So you'll have your photographer take both still pictures and videography as well. So that's the current situation, but as the restrictions are whatever, as the restrictions are removed, we shall move forward and then probably adjust. The marriage, as I said, takes between 10 and 4. But if during the period of notice, if an objection is raised, then it qualifies to be a caveat, then the matter is immediately referred to court for settlement. It's not the register of marriage who arbitrates. Once a caveat is placed, the matter goes to court, and the court will arbitrate and rule, and we will either proceed to wed or stop the wedding altogether. So it's court which, in the event that there is a caveat placed, which must qualify to be a caveat, then the matter will go to court. So this marriage, Ugandans, my fellow Ugandans, guys who are watching us, ladies and gentlemen, is extremely expensive. As you can see, the fees that are required are a whole amount of 260,000, which is probably something you spend over the weekend under normal circumstances, pre-COVID or post-COVID. So yes, that is how expensive it is. For that amount of money, I'm sure you will not need to hold any meetings. Between the four of you, your spouse, and your two best friends, I'm sure you can come up within the 90 days, that's 3 months, you can surely save 260,000 and get married. So really, there is no reason why you are staying there with your phone registered, your car registered, and the lady you are sleeping with in your bedroom is not registered. It's an insult. If I was the end of the girls who is under that circumstances, I would walk out this evening and leave you in this weather over the weekend to be able to regurgitate and to think about this deeply. How do you dare register your phone and have it known by government and therefore protected? How dare you register your car and run around with a logbook, and you expect me, a whole human being, to just be there around you without anybody knowing and without any responsibilities and therefore no legal protection? I think that is almost an insult. So that's how you contract a civil marriage. Those are civil marriages, very simple, 260 grand, 4 people come here, and it's done within 15 minutes. Remember, it's monogamous, and it can only be voided by a divorce, by a court of law, or death, but it's not a contract. It's the real deal. It's serious. Also remember, that certificate you get is probably the most recognized marriage certificate in the world, wherever you take it. So yes, everything is there, and you get the legal protection as a bonus. Nothing can happen to you because you are now Mr. and Mrs. I keep telling everybody that being a mother of someone's children, or being the father of someone's children, has never been defined as a husband or wife. That's why they are different words. If someone is called the mother of my children, another one is called the father of my children. You cannot say that that's my husband and that's my wife. Those are two different words. If you are doubting me, please Google the definition of husband, Google the definition of wife, and then Google the definition of mother and father. If they are the same, I'm ready to retire. It's about time. So thank you very much. I just wanted to give you a brief look at this. You may think that civil marriages are not happening. Just look at the statistics here. Starting from 2012 financial year, 2012-2013, we only had 818 marriages celebrated. Last financial year of 2021, it has risen to 1,824. You know what that means? That means more than 35 marriages every week, more than 7 marriages every single day of the week, a whole year. There isn't any church which comes close to us, because there isn't any church which has 30 marriages a week. We have 35. So if you are there and thinking, no, that's not that civil marriage thing, it is only for Bazungu, no, it is only for quacks, whatever. Well, every year over 1,500 people are using it. Over 30 people are every week are getting civil marriages. If that means they're only Bazungu, I don't know about you, but you keep there being unregistered. We shall find out when you actually need protection. This is the equivalent. You can look at the trend. You clearly see that it goes up, and the trend is going up. Fortunately, the trend for COVID is going down. Now, ours is going up, and we prefer it to go up. Now, there's one more slide, one more activity I want to indicate, which goes hand in hand with civil marriages. Civil marriages are not only convenient and cheap, and therefore you have no excuse to stay with someone's daughter or someone's son when they have no legal protection and you start running around when anything happens to them. There is, to make it even more convenient, there is something we call a special license. Now, a special license is when you cannot wait. You remember we said the notice has to run for 21 days? Well, some people are so in love that they feel that they may drop dead if they don't get married, if they don't make it legal, and if they are very good Christians, like some people I know who are texting here in the chat, if they are very good Christians, they just feel like they can't wait anymore. They have been so nice people and they can't wait. They really need to get married before Satan tempts them beyond how he tempted Jesus after the 40 days. I think for them, they have been living all their lives being fasting, whatever they are fasting, and now they feel like they really, really can't wait. Now, when you can't wait, kindly you can appeal to us, fill in a few things, and the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs will grant a waiver of the 21 days. How more convenient can something be? You see, you're so in love with this girl, you're so in love with this guy, he's tall, dark, and handsome, and has a beard, unlike Stephen, and you still can get with him within a week. Amazing grace. Really, this is fantastic. Another thing you can do, we are young people. It is nice to have a gown and to go down the cathedral and everything. But now we are looking at these COVID days where you're only allowed maybe 20 people maximum, stuff like that. Now 20 people in Irubaga on the cathedral will make the whole place hollow, and I don't even know how you're going to do it. And then after that, you have to hire cars, or you have paid for the choir, etc. Then you go and hire a hotel to host your people. You know what? You can actually just pay for a special license to gazette that hotel for you for that day. You alone. How much more special is that? You are doing these things by putting labels on water that is so and so and so and so. My friend, we can wed you in a hotel where you want, specifically gazette for you that place. And they said today Serena Kigo is only yours. It has been gazetted for your wedding X, Y, and Z. Man, if I was not married for the last 20 years, I think this is exactly what I would have done. But well, life is good. So please, you can get a special license by simply putting in a place, and then you will only pay for one place. We shall come there and wed you from there. There are affidavits which you need to fill and pay for. Guess what? We can wed you in a yacht. Just moor the yacht at the marina in Munyonyo, and we shall come and wed you at that yacht. I don't think any wedding has been in a yacht. Now I saw somebody move around with a chopper to go for their customary marriage. I hope they have registered that customary marriage, but you know what? The chopper is very good and etc. But getting married on a yacht, man, that is the it. That one is the it. And I don't think anybody has done it in Uganda. So if I was any of you guys who haven't yet done it, all you need to pay 300,000 and we shall gazette that place for you. Just moor the yacht in the marina and you're good to go. Okay, finally, benefits and advantages of a civil marriage. I think I've said most of those along the way because each item on the civil marriage is actually a benefit. Their ceremonies are very flexible and convenient. It gives Ugandans and non-Ugandans a chance to enjoy the rights of being married. Now, you know that in churches and certain places, they will say, if you want to get married here, you have to become this denomination. We have to baptize you in this denomination. You have to first be to confess Jesus if you want to be. The other ones will say, if you are not a Muslim and you're not circumcised, you cannot get married here. That has stopped a lot of people in love from getting married now. When we're talking a civil marriage, we didn't say anything about religion. We didn't say anything about tribe. As long as you are over 18, you can get married. It doesn't matter whether one of you is Muslim and one is Hindu, whether one of you is Catholic and the other one is saved. You can, as long as you are over 18 and it's out of your free will, you can get married. It doesn't matter whether you are Karmojong and I am from, okay, I will not say the other places, but even if you are from there, you can get married. We don't care about that as long as you are over 18. So this has been very beneficial for couples which have those challenges to be able to get legal protection of a proper marriage. Under the civil marriage, divorced persons have a chance to get married. You know that most Christian churches do not wed divorcees. And then it represents flexibility, because you are able to go, as I said, you are able to go to the yacht, you are able to waive the 21 days in case many people are married in court because they have children and they have lived with these people for donkey's years. Then guess what? You get a scholarship or you get a UN job and they're telling you have to go with your wife. And when you reach there, she's not your wife because you're not married, but they want a marriage certificate. Oh, you're losing that UN post, And so if you are to go to church, you're going to spend 3 months, and yet they want the certificate in Nairobi for the visa next week. Come and get a civil marriage. You will be able to waive the notice period, and you are able to get your job, and your future is secured, as Stephen would say. So it is very flexible. It's a very big advantage. Continuing, civil marriages have saved many a couple which had a wedding, belong to non-licensed church. You know that we said that for a church to wed, it must obtain a license, akin to when schools, for a school to sit P7 or O-level or A-level students, they must get a UNEB number. They must have a center number. So for a church to wed, they must get a license from the Honorable Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs through the Registrar General here. Now, many churches have not done that, and they have been wedding. And all of a sudden, people found their marriages were not legally tenable, they were not registrable. And that can be a challenge if anyone demises and you are trying to process the estate and the administrator general, etc., or insurance or medical insurance, you are required to have a certificate, and we find that it is not registrable. The only thing which saves you is to run and have a civil marriage, and which is very quick, and you just say it, and then you have saved your marriage. So yeah, civil marriage can save your marriage because the other one actually was not a marriage. Of course, like I said earlier, it's been a solution for interfaith marriages and inter-tribal, inter-country, interracial, inter-everything. Yeah, it has saved them, and of course, it's extremely, extremely affordable. And thank God for us, all our monies are in the bank. All we want to see is the receipts, and we are good to go. I think that's about it. I'll just say this is a slide which I picked from episode 2, which was about customary marriages, but the benefits of a legal marriage cannot go are often underestimated, and you cannot really ignore them. I think before you think of anything else, before taking someone's daughter or going to someone's son, you really need to think that the first benefit of a legal marriage is you get legal recognition as a husband and wife. Outside this, the wife and husband talk is exactly that, talk. The only way you become a husband or a wife is when you have a legal certificate of marriage. Okay? All these marriages help you to reap the benefits and protection in the case of travel, death, divorce. You see, it's interesting. You cannot divorce if you're not married. And you cannot prove marriage if your marriage is not registered. So technically, you cannot divorce someone if you are not married, if you don't have a registered marriage. So even in the event that your relationship has to break down and you have to go to court for separation, then you must first prove that you are married to start with. Obviously, death, until death do us part, yeah, and then you have to process the estate, go to the administrator general, etc., etc. You're not the next of kin unless you are really the wife. And to be the wife, we have said in one, you must have a legal documentation. To be the husband, you must have a legal documentation. So a certificate of marriage, which does is the evidence which is required, whether in a court or any other authority which requires you. Of course, it's also what is required to change citizenship. A lot of people, not to prove citizenship and to things like that, a lot of people actually, when they were registering for national ID, they used especially the ladies, used their husbands' names. And it created a problem for them because their academic documentation was in their maiden names, which was not appearing on the national ID. Now, for you to ensure that your maiden and marriage names appear on the national ID, you need to provide NIRA with a registered marriage certificate. So you can see even your own name now becomes a problem if you are not married properly, if you do not have that. Of course, that goes to passport, visa, etc., etc. For many Ugandans saving with the different firms, like National NSSF, those ones who are waiting, like some of us for the mid-term withdrawals, and all I don't know about Paul, you tell us about the circle, whether you are serious about spousal issues. But it should be, because banks are doing the same. And if you are saving with that, it is important because there is such a thing called marital property. And there is like a marital homestead, and marital property may not be used for Stella's simple or for, in other words, cannot be used for mortgaging if there is no a proper agreement from the spouse. So you can see that it affects quite a lot of it, including the economic sector. Marriages enable the government, finally, to plan. You cannot plan for a place like my good old sub-county in Chanamukaka, where they took a lot of delivery beds, yet they are only old people and there's hardly any marriage happening in there. But because our planning dictates that every sub-county should have a school, every sub-county should have a maternity ward, well, they took the beds there and they are still in polythene bags, because all young people like me, and if you think that I'm the young one in Chanamukaka, that shows you the ones who are old, who are still there. There is no anything. Now, if they had used the marriage records, in other words, if marriages were all registered in Chanamukaka, in all the sub-counties in the country, you could very easily plan for where to put maternity services and where to put diabetes services, because old people come with diabetes, with high blood pressure. You would be more rational in your planning, and therefore our resources wouldn't be wasted. Instead, the same delivery beds which are delivered to Kawempe here, because it's a sub-county, are the same delivered in Chanamukaka. So that's why you sit on the news every day. You cannot plan without this data. You need this data absolutely. So it is important for us to register our group, because soon after the marriages, you expect that someone is going to become a father or a mother, and you should plan for them. 6 years after that, you should plan for classrooms, for blocks for P1. All the planning starts at the family. That's our last quote, that it all begins at the family. And if families are not documented, just like businesses, if they are not registered, then there is never going to be economic development. And in this case, for the family, there's never going to be social development. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Don't forget to contact us. If you want to get us specifically, we are on marriages@ursb.go.ug. Of course, we are on Facebook, on Twitter, and we have a toll-free number. Thank you very much for listening to me. Over to you, Dennis.
Thank you very much, Mr. Charles Nsimbi. That was a very elaborate presentation. Thank you very much. We have quite a number of queries that have come through. I think we'll do maybe two of them, 2 or 3. You respond to them, and then we'll take another round. So the first is from Promise Nohire. She says, I kindly request to be guided on this issue. Cows in some districts do not have powers to celebrate marriages, for instance, in Isingiro. They come to Mbarara. This needs to be rectified. Mostly refugees from Nakivale come to Mbarara to have their marriage celebrated, yet the law stipulates that they must have been in an area for 14 days. It's really inconveniencing being in an area for all those days just to get an LC letter that is needed by the cow's office. Mr. Nsimbi, I don't know how you can respond to that.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Dennis, and thank you, Promise. It's Promise, yeah?
Yes.
Promise, I'm glad that you've raised it. It is something we have noted. We actually have a program working with OPM to go and train and equip the cow of Isingiro. We have been discussing with our office in Mbarara to take over that function, to be able to go and do the training down there, because we noted not only do they come to Mbarara, they actually come to Kampala as well. We have seen quite a few of them end up at our office, and we noted it from because for us, we gather statistics and therefore we can plan. Indeed, we have a proposal, we have a draft concept note, we have already submitted, and we are discussing with the Office of the Prime Minister, Refugee, the Department of Refugees, so that we come and train and equip the Isingiro. But this is going to be across not only in Isingiro down here, but we are also doing it in Adjumani for BDBD and Nebi, Moyo, etc. So yes, and Changwari, we're in Changwari actually just a couple of months ago. So yes, it is in the pipeline, and we are aware of that shortcoming. Thank you very much, Praise. Promise, thank you.
Promise, yes, thank you. There's another one from Magoba Joel. Why do you need to give 21 days and require one to have lived in the area for 2 weeks? Then the other one is, can one get married at URSB offices up country?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Magova Joel. Yes, 21 days is the equivalent of bans. We need to give the public an opportunity to agree that there is nothing. You know how they go in church and they say, anybody with a caveat, please tell or forever hold your peace. So that's the legal equivalent of bans. The 21 days is 3 weeks. It's enough time for people to see the bans, to see the notice, and be able to raise caveats and be able to, and even enable the registrar to shift through the caveats. But also, the 15 days is also equivalent of your seriousness in a place. You cannot fly in. We need some time to process that and ensure. You see, I say that this marriage is for keeps until death do us part, or until divorce by court of law. It's not something you would want to rush into. So this is a time to give you to take a breath, but also enough time for us to process, but also time to allow the general public to be able to confirm that you don't have anything. Because I'm sure, Joel, you wouldn't want someone, if you have a girlfriend or if you have a wife, you wouldn't want someone to sneak out of your house and go and get married without you knowing, if they can do it in one day. So we want proper marriages, just like the churches, like the mosques, like the religious. The courts and the laws also want proper marriages, and they give you some due time. That's why the 21 days and the 15 days, because we don't want you to come from another jurisdiction. You see, with the churches, they will announce in all the churches where you were baptized, where you did what, etc. But now for us, we don't have that opportunity. We put you on the internet, and then we put you outside our notice board, and it takes some time before people can actually be able to look at it. So it is just due diligence, basically. Now, about our offices up country, unfortunately, the law hasn't yet allowed them to do that. It's the cows in that particular jurisdiction. But what we have done to manage the circumstance is you can actually go to our offices and they will assist the cow, because we are now using an electronic system, which our offices are conversant with. They will assist the cow with all the paperwork which is required. And then you will only go to the cow to get the actual marriage. After you've done all the payments and you're entered into the system, the notice is pinned up and put on the system, then you'll be able to go there and wait. So while our registrars up country in Mbale, in Gulu, in Arua, in Mbarara and Masaka, they may not wait, but they are working in tandem with the cow, and you can get your marriage there as well. Thank you.
Thank you. There's another one from Flo. Can you hold a marriage at the couple's home, since you mentioned that there's liberty to be married in any place? Before you answer that, there's another one from Jacinta Muhindo. Do you handle divorces? Can I do a search to check if someone has been married before?
Thank you. These are good questions. They cover the holes I missed talking about. No, you cannot get married in a home. The place has to be public. The place which we gazette for you must be public, must be a public place. Because normally we hold our marriages in Nigeria Gardens, we hold them at Chigo, Serena Chigo, we hold them in places like that. Actually, even traditional marriages these days seem to be moving away from home. So yes, we don't want you, again, for purposes of transparency, you need to get married when everybody is seeing, when other people can actually see. You cannot hide in your bedroom and get married. The law doesn't want to have such a scenario. So it says you will gazette any public place. That's why a yacht is okay. That's why the beach is fine. Just to gazette the beach for yourself. That's why the gardens are fine, etc. Yeah. Then for divorces, no, we are not the ones who conduct divorces. As I said, it is the marriage is dissolved either by courts of law, divorce through the courts of law, or death do us part. Now, on one hand, though, we register Muslim divorces called the tarak, both the female and the male version. We do register them. So the only thing that you can possibly do is to check if the person, if you are Muslim, that your divorce, your tarak has actually been revoked, because we are going to attach it to your file where the nikah was. Now, for searches, yes, you can search if someone is already married here. We can do a search. It's only 25,000 shillings, and you can go online. Actually, there's a tool which we have just launched. If you go on our website, www.ursb.go.ug, under e-services, you will find civil registration, and again, you'll find search. When you click on that, you fill the form, make the payments in the bank, attach the PRN, and you are good to go. You'll get your response on your email directly. So yes, you can search for people. I must put a caveat that not all the marriages are registered with us, like I said. Unfortunately, some headmasters, if I use that word loosely, in other words, some places of worship, churches, are not filing, they're not doing their duty. Akin to when headmasters fail to register students with UNEB. I think you know where that has happened in some schools, and the headmasters just ate the money and they didn't register the candidates with UNEB. Now, I cannot say that the reverends and the pastors have behaved like that, but we know that some churches do not file returns. So in that case, we may not have that record, but we have over 800,000 records of marriages here of various types, and therefore it's a wise thing to do a search for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. There's another one. What did I saw Mr. Ochul Jonathan. What documents are required to do a civil marriage? Are all marriages required to be registered by URSB? And then BP John Matogo is asking for the presentation, but I see another one from John Vianney. Hello, Charles. Don't you think it is time to amend the law to allow marriages to be conducted in people's homes? Remember, some homes today are like hotels. What are your views? I'm asking for Stephen Barievuga.
Thank you very much. To Jonathan, all marriages, yes, all marriages have to be registered with the Register of Marriages, the Registrar General. And civil marriages, what was that he was asking about civil marriages again? Dennis? Oh, you are off to them.
No, I'm around. Are all marriages required to be registered by
Yes.
URSB? And what documents are required to have a civil marriage?
Okay. The documents required, first of all, Jonathan, you can go to our website, www.ursb.go.ug. Under services, you click on civil registration, and under civil registration, you'll find how to contract a civil marriage, and you'll find the whole procedure. But shortly, the documents which are required is Form A, which is the notice form, which you are supposed to fill and attach your pictures, and it has the details of the groom and the bride and the witnesses, how you want them to appear on the certificate. Then you require affidavits for him and for her, according to marriage, to Section 5 of the Marriage Act. And those should be commissioned by a commission of oath, and then they will be registered by us, who are also the registrars of marriages. And then we shall require the LC letter to determine that you have been in the country for at least 15 days. And then we require identification, either passports, valid passports with visas into the country if you're foreigners, or IDs, national IDs if you're Ugandan, and you are good to go. And then you will pin up the notice for 21 days, and then you just appear 4 people and you are with your identification, and you are ready to get married. Thank you. The one who is asking for Stephen, yes, I don't know if we can recommend homes, however palatial they may look to be, because the issue here is about transparency rather than opulence. So yes, if your home is palatial, please either turn it into a motel, hotel, or something, and then you will be able to gazette it. Or go to an even more palatial hotel, as you have seen many of these weddings end up. Now, please don't challenge me, because we did gazette State House about last year, I think, for a wedding there. But State House is defined actually as a public place. It is not only is it the home of the president, but it's the official home. It's actually a public place. We first had to check the legality of that. It's not a private place. We checked it's a public place. It can hold meetings. It has the conferences. It hosts foreign dignitaries, and etc. etc. So it's almost a hotel with a small bit, which is the home of the president. So don't challenge me, but how come you gazetted this? Yes, we went through the law. It is allowed for that to be gazetted, the State House of Entebbe. So yes, homes, you would lock your gate and not allow us. So if there's someone is complaining, you will not allow us. We cannot wed you from your bedroom, I'm afraid, but we can wed you from a hotel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charles. I see. Okay. Flo has come back. She asks, if I do civil marriage and years down the road, I want to do a church wedding with my same spouse I had a civil marriage with, what does it mean? Would I be registering twice or just do it, but no significance? In this case, for me, it's bringing in the religious element later in my marriage. So I think she's asking if she's done the civil marriage now and then wants to do church later, what are the implications? Is it possible? Is it legal? What is the implication of that?
Thank you, Florence. First of all, the church marriage is a civil marriage. I said we license the church. In other words, what the minister does is to confer upon the registrar, the minister there, the priest or reverend or whatever, the powers of a registrar of marriage who can wed on behalf of, of government. So actually what you'll be doing two civil marriages. When you wed here and you wed in church. What happens most of the time, though, is that people who cannot have marriages in church do a civil marriage, then you go for a blessing. So if you want to add the spiritual component, the religious component, you do a civil marriage and actually book and go for a blessing in a mass, in a service, in whatever, in a church. Because what happens in a church is what happens here, except by two different registrars. So what we normally see as what is a little bit more common is people coming and doing the civil, and then they go to church to get the blessing because probably the parents and everybody else wants to see them in church. So it wouldn't do any harm because it is exactly the same ceremony. You know, the challenge would be is if you did a civil marriage and then went to church and did a church marriage as well, without, and they also issue with another certificate, then you would have two civil certificates, which is not fatal, but is extremely irrelevant. It doesn't really add any value to you per se. So I would recommend you do the civil, then you go for the blessing service or mass or whatever it is in the church, pass way to the other side. Thank you.
Okay, maybe just the last two.
Yeah.
I've seen a query from Daphna. Are you able to identify if someone has done a civil marriage before? And then Jonathan came back. What happens to those who got married in Bugolobi? Are they registered?
Okay. First of all, just repeat for me the very first one before Jonathan's.
Let me just trace it again. Are you able to identify if someone has done a civil marriage before? And then the other one was what happens to marriages that were done in Bugolobi? I think it's that church or something. But I've seen another one, Mr. Nsimbi, maybe before you go to those, there's another one. Do you have premarital counseling at civil department before you can legalize one's marriage? You mentioned of so mad in love. Do you ever follow up on your couples? Because all love nearly starts in high gear. Therefore, many young people could fall victim. I think the phone is Galaxy A20. He or she is asking if we offer counseling services before we conduct marriages.
Thank you. That is going to be a tough one. I think I need to go and study counseling services or something. Anyway, I'll start with whether we can identify someone as a yes. Civil marriages, because they are done by the registrar of marriages, ourselves and the cows in the field, we do have them, almost the majority of them, on record. Way back, they go way back into the 20s. The records we have go up to 1920. We have many of the parents of Tudezi, Metas, and Madivanis, and all those sort of people. They got married civil, and we have those records here. So yes, we can identify. There are some records which went missing in the mid-70s because of the 79 war. I think they were destroyed with the cows, but we have largely the rest of the records. So we can identify if someone did a civil marriage before and they came up. So when you do a search, we're able to tell that one has a marriage. Then Bugolobi Church of the Resurrection got a license, I think, in 2017 eventually, but they had been waiting for donkey's years without a license. Unfortunately, those marriages are not registrable. To put it in a crude language, those people are not married. They are just boyfriend and girlfriend. But we have a responsibility to this country and we have a responsibility to our people. And so we are working. It does not affect only Bugolobi. It affects quite a few churches. And that's why it would be wise for you to go on our website and check the list of licensed places of worship before you decide to go for any wedding in a church. It is wise for you to check. There are many churches which wed people before they got a license, and all those marriages are not registrable. Crudely put, they are not marriages. Now, we are working with the Interreligious Council to do the legal gymnastics and get a court order whereby we may be able to register those marriages. Until that is done, they are not registrable. Then, of course, we are also working, it's a two-pronged attack. We are also working with the Parliament to have an amendment to do that, to allow those churches that when the church gets a license, the license works retrospectively. It allows marriages celebrated before that license to be. I don't know if that will ever be done, but we are working with Parliament, First Parliamentary Council, etc., to get this done. And legislative procedures take quite some time, so that may take some time. But those are the two-pronged attacks we have done to this problem. It's a countrywide problem. We are the first people who identified it, and we are doing our best to handle it. Counseling, technically, no, we don't do counseling. You come to us for a service. You want to get married, and we try to make that service as fulfilling as possible by giving you the service in the best possible way, as fast as you possibly can, and with as much legal input as you can, so that you live here when you are fully married. So we expect that you have done your due diligence. That's why we insist that you swear that it's out of your free will. We insist that you know that you are not related by blood, so you really must know the person. That's why we insist that you don't get married chap, but you take some time to think this through. And yes, even in churches, especially brides, they get wedding jitters. Yeah, we do get wedding jitters here, but we are not yet able to do counseling. Perhaps that's a gap where a private provider may see that there's a gap there, and they take advantage of it and use it. That's what the country is. That's what business is all about. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Charles. I know we've overshot our time by about 9 minutes, but I have two questions that have just come in. The first is, a special license is being issued now? And the second is, after civil marriage, does a blessing venue, which is a church premise, also need a license? So if you've got married here under civil, does the church you go to for the blessing require to be licensed? Then the other one is, a special licenses being issued now?
Thank you. I think we have overshot the time because these are difficult questions. I want to dodge them. No, we'll take it on the chin. Civil marriages, and then you go to church. Actually, that is what happens. Whoever is asking this, you are very, very good. You really understand this. I think we should meet and see if I leave you in this office and I take my leave earlier, or my retirement a little early, because you really are good. You know what you are doing. Yes, a lot of people, when they find that the churches they go to are not licensed, but they still want the blessing from the pastor, the man of God, whatever it is. Yeah, or muchala pastor, or muchala whatever. What they do is to come and do a civil, then you go to their church and have the ceremony, because the other ceremony has no legal import. It doesn't add anything as far as legal is concerned. It's all spiritual. It's all about God. It's not about Caesar. So yes, indeed, when you get a civil marriage, you can go to any church you want. You don't need any license. For the church doesn't need to be licensed, because it's not going to file any returns. Your returns are already here under civil marriage. Then for special licenses being issued now, temporarily for the time being, no, we are not doing, we are not processing special licenses, because if you note, the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs hasn't yet been appointed, but we are working on it. It's not a permanent thing, because it affects too many people, especially the season where we are going of December, which is a peak period. Most churches are overbooked, and so they end up wedding outside the churches. People are wedding on Monday, Tuesday, they go to hotels, etc. Now, if we cannot offer that service, it will be really very, very detrimental to the people of this country. So the powers that be are aware of it, and they are working something about it. Very soon we shall be able to resume. But right now, as of this week, yeah, we are unable to do that. But you still carry that information, and you know that we shall use it ASAP. Thank you, sir. I'm not going to allow Stephen and his people, who are supposed to be the most important clients, the ones who are due to get married before the year ends and before we open up the economy, to ask any more questions. But thank you very much. Please don't forget to get in touch with us. It's on the screen, especially that email, marriages@ursb.co.uk. It comes direct here. So get on your phone, go to your Gmail and send us an email. We shall be more than glad to answer. And the beauty about that is you can get the answer on Saturday, on Sunday, on a public holiday, because we are equally serving. We have the equipment with us. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charles Nsimbi, for that powerful presentation. All the participants online, as Mr. Nsimbi has said, those are our contacts. Please do not hesitate to get in touch with the Directorate of Civil Registration if you have any query. I would now like to invite our Registrar General, Ms. Mercy K. Kanovisho, who has been online as well, to give us some remarks, and then we can close this session. Madam, you're very welcome to give us some remarks.
Thank you, Dennis. We should start giving opportunities to other people to give closing remarks so that we build the young people as leadership. I have listened in from the beginning. I want to thank you, Charles, for lecturing to us. Indeed, I even posted in the chat when I was still in the attendees section. I had used my son's login, so I think the phone and the details showed my son's name. I also am the one who asked on behalf of Stephen Barievuga on the Palatial Homes. You know, these are conversations that we should have because this is a law of 1904. And as we make legal reform and study and benchmark with other countries, we need to look at the consideration of people having these marriages in their homes. So it is something that we can debate internally and see how we can brainstorm. The counseling and guidance is an opportunity. We can also look into that, whether we are limited, whether it, of course, it requires a lot of work. The way we are doing dispute resolution for companies, the way we are mediating and doing all this, some of these things can be done administratively. Lastly, I want to invite Stella Kakwezi. Please do give closing remarks on our behalf. Thank you. I see Stella logged in.
Yes,
can she be unmuted?
Yeah, she is. She's coming on.
Okay, kindly unmute her so that she gives the closing remarks. The numbers are going low.
Estelle, can go ahead and speak.
Thank you so much, Registrar General. Thank you, Charles Nsimbi, Mr. Nsimbi, for the wonderful presentation. Very, very interesting. Oh, sorry. Okay, now you can see me. Okay. Thank you so much, Charlie. It was a very wonderful presentation. I like the humor that if you can register your telephone number, why not your marriage? Indeed, we really need to register our marriages. We need to appreciate so that we can benefit a lot from this. Our panelists, Charles and Dennis Nevanda, thank you so much for your great work. The people who have attended, thank you so much. And we're here to give you more information. Marriage is a very, very interesting area. And I always chat with Charlie whenever I go out. The first question is, how can I protect my marriage, especially when we meet as ladies? And I have always given this information. And I'm happy that we have this series and that are going to run and everything will be well. I have a friend who's online who has been asking me so many questions. She's called Maureen Kemgisa, and asked her to attend these two so that she can be comfortable. She has been sending me text and she's very comfortable and all her questions have been answered. Thank you so much, our viewers. Thank you for attending and please come again when we put up our Friday series. Thank you. Good evening. Back to you, RID.
Okay, back to our MC, Dennis. Thank you very much, Stella, and thanks for bringing on your friend.
Thank you very much, RG. Thank you, Stella. Thank you, Charles, and everybody else who's joined us today. Ladies and gentlemen, just a quick update. This recording will be available on our YouTube channel, so you can always go to YouTube, look for Uganda Registration Services Bureau, and you'll find the content available there. Any other requests for the slides will be shared via email. We thank you again, and we hope that this session has been educative. You've learned quite a bit from Mr. Charles Nsimbi, and he's convinced you to come and make use of the civil marriage service that we offer at the Uganda Registration Services Bureau. So from all of us at URSP, thank you and have a very good weekend.